The darkness of space held 2,000 warships. They floated like metal mountains, each one bigger than a city. The Craxon Empire had sent their greatest fleet to take the Kepler 442 system. Their ships carried weapons that could turn planets to dust. Admiral Zixther sat on his command throne in the biggest ship. He was a giant creature with 4 arms and hard shell-like skin. His 8 eyes looked at the countless stars outside. He felt proud of his massive fleet. No one in the galaxy could stand against such power. "My Lord Admiral," called Subcommander Velnox. He moved closer on his many tentacles. His voice sounded excited. "The humans have arrived." "Good," Zixther replied. He flexed all 4 of his arms. "Show me their fleet. Let us see what Earth has sent to face us." The giant screen in front of them came to life. At first, it showed only empty space. Stars twinkled in the distance. Velnox worked the controls, making the view zoom closer. Then he pointed with one tentacle. "There, my lord, the human fleet approaches." Zixther leaned forward on his throne. He stared at the screen. His 8 eyes blinked in confusion. "I see nothing. Where is their fleet?" "Scanning again, Admiral." Velnox checked his instruments. "Yes, there they are. 5 ships total." "5?" Zixther stood up so fast that his throne shook. "Did you say 5? "Yes, my lord. 1 cruiser and 4 destroyers. That appears to be their entire fleet." The bridge went silent for a moment. Then someone started laughing. Soon, every Craxon officer was roaring with laughter. They slapped their shells and stomped their feet. Some fell out of their chairs. 5 ships, gasped the weapons officer. "They brought 5 tiny ships." "My fighters are bigger than their cruiser," laughed another officer. Zixther himself began to chuckle. His laugh sounded like grinding rocks. "These humans must be joking. 5 ships against 2,000? They are either very brave or very stupid." "Shall I order our fleet to destroy them, Admiral?" asked Velnox. "No, wait." Zixther wiped away tears of laughter from his 8 eyes. "Open a communication channel. I want to speak with their commander. This should be entertaining." The main screen changed. Now it showed the inside of a human ship. A man sat in the captain's chair. He wore a simple gray uniform. His hair was short, and his face looked calm. This was Captain Jack Mitchell. Behind him stood a woman with dark hair pulled back tight. Her name tag read Lieutenant Emma Rodriguez. She watched the screens around her with sharp eyes. "Human captain," Zixther began. He tried to keep the laughter from his voice. "I am Admiral Zixther of the Craxon Empire. I command this fleet of 2,000 warships. Tell me, have you come to surrender?" Captain Mitchell did not smile. He did not look afraid. He simply stared back at the alien admiral. "No, Admiral. We have come to ask you to leave the Kepler 442 system." The Craxon bridge exploded with fresh laughter. Officers held their stomachs and gasped for air. Even the usually serious Velnox shook with amusement. "Leave." Zixther could barely speak. Through his laughter. "You want us to leave? With 5 ships, you demand that we leave?" "That's correct," Mitchell replied. His voice stayed steady and calm. "Captain, perhaps you cannot count," said Zixther. "You have 5 ships. We have 2,000. You are outnumbered 400 to 1. Each of my dreadnoughts is larger than your entire fleet combined." Lieutenant Rodriguez leaned close to Mitchell. She whispered something in his ear. The captain nodded slightly but kept his eyes on the screen. "Numbers are not everything, Admiral," Mitchell said. "We are giving you 1 chance to leave peacefully. You have 1 hour to begin your withdrawal." "Or what?" Zixther's voice dripped with mockery. "You will attack us with your toy ships? My friend, I have cargo vessels larger than your biggest ship. I have fighters that could swallow your destroyers whole." "Or," Mitchell said slowly, "we will show you why humans do not need large fleets." Something in the human's voice made Zixther stop laughing. The human's eyes held no fear. They showed only quiet confidence. It made no sense. How could someone be so calm when facing certain death? "You interest me, human," said Zixther. "Tell me, what makes you think 5 ships can defeat 2,000? Mitchell stood up from his chair. He walked closer to the screen. Admiral, humanity learned long ago that size is not the most important thing in battle. We learned that one smart person can defeat 100 fools. One sharp knife can cut through the thickest armor if you know where to strike. Pretty words, sneered Zixter. But words will not save you when my weapons turn your ships to vapor. Perhaps not, Mitchell agreed. But we are not here to trade words. You have 1 hour. After that, we will take action. The screen went black. The communication had ended. The Kraxan bridge fell silent. No one was laughing now. Admiral, said Velnox carefully, should we destroy them now? It would be simple. One volley from our forward batteries would end this. Zixter sat back on his throne. He tapped his claws against the armrest. No, something is wrong here. No one is that confident without reason. These humans have a plan. But my lord, what plan could possibly work? They are just 5 small ships. I don't know, admitted Zixter, but I want to find out. We will wait the hour they requested. Let them make the first move. If they have some trick, I want to see it. And if they attack, then we crush them like insects. But first, I want to understand. Set all sensors to maximum power. Watch those ships carefully. Something is not right here. The bridge crew returned to their stations. The laughter had died away. Now they watched the 5 human ships with nervous eyes. The ships just floated there, not moving, not powering weapons, not doing anything threatening. But somehow, that made them even more frightening. Velnox studied his screens. Admiral, I'm getting strange readings from the human ships. What kind of readings? I'm not sure. Their energy signatures keep changing. One moment they seem normal. The next moment, it's like they're not fully there. Explain, demanded Zixter. I cannot, my lord. It's as if the ships are flickering in and out of reality, but that's impossible. Zixter felt a cold chill run down his shell. He looked at the 5 tiny ships on his screen. They seemed so small, so helpless. But the human captain's words echoed in his mind. Size is not the most important thing in battle. What did the humans know that he didn't? What secret did those 5 small ships hold? The hour had begun to count down, and for the first time in his long career, Admiral Zixter felt the tiny seed of doubt plant itself in his mind. Something was very wrong here, and he had a feeling he was about to find out what it was. The 5 human ships waited in the darkness, silent, still, and somehow terrifying in their smallness. The timer on the human bridge showed 43 minutes left. Captain Mitchell sat in his command chair, watching the numbers count down. His fingers tapped against the armrest in a steady rhythm. Distance to enemy fleet still 2 million kilometers, reported Lieutenant Rodriguez. She never looked away from her screens. They haven't moved. The 5 human ships floated in perfect formation. Mitchell's cruiser Defiance stayed in the center. Around it, 4 destroyers kept exact positions: Liberty, Independence, Courage, and Resilience. They looked tiny compared to the massive alien fleet in the distance. Luke, how are things in engineering? Mitchell spoke into his communicator. Commander Luke Harrison's voice came back cheerful and confident. Everything's perfect down here. Jack, the new engines are running smooth. All systems show green lights. Good, we might need to move fast soon. Ready when you are, Captain. Meanwhile, on the Kraxan flagship, something strange was happening. Sub-Commander Velnox stared at his sensor screens. His tentacles twisted with confusion. He had checked his readings 15 times. The numbers made no sense. Admiral, he called out, we have a problem with our sensors. Zixter turned his massive head. What kind of problem? The human ships. Their readings keep changing. 1 second they show normal mass. The next second the numbers go negative. That's impossible. Our sensors must be broken, the Admiral decided. Send repair teams to check them. I already did, my lord. 3 full checks. The sensors work perfectly. Then the humans are jamming our equipment. Velnox shook his head. No, Admiral. All other readings are clear. We can see everything else normally. It's only the human ships that look wrong. 20 minutes passed. The human ships did nothing. They just floated there, small and quiet, too quiet. Admiral, a young officer suddenly shouted. I'm reading something strange around the human ships. What is it? Zixther demanded. Space is bending, sir. Gravity is acting wrong near their ships. The Admiral jumped to his feet. All four of his arms waved in the air. That's impossible. Those tiny ships can't have enough power to bend space. But sir, the readings are getting stronger. Back on the human ship Defiance, Dr. Olivia Chang smiled at her computer screens. She was a small woman with short black hair and quick hands. Her fingers danced over the controls. Captain, our space-time bubbles are forming perfectly, she reported. The Alcubierre fields are stable. Mitchell nodded. Excellent work, Doctor. What about power consumption? From the engine room, Harrison's voice answered. The 0-point reactors are only at 60% power, Jack. We have plenty of energy. To spare. Good. Emma, how much time left? Rodriguez checked her display. 15 minutes, Captain. On the Craxon flagship, fear was spreading. Officers shouted readings that made no sense. Alarms began to beep and flash. Admiral, the human. Ships are quantum entangled, yelled the science officer. All 5 ships are connected at the quantum level, added another voice. Light is bending around their hulls. We're seeing gravitational lensing. Zixther grabbed his command throne with all 4 hands. His 8 eyes were wide with shock. This has to be a trick. They can't have this technology. My lord. Velnox's voice cut through the noise. Our long-range sensors show the human ships in multiple places at once. What do you mean, multiple places? They're in quantum superposition, Admiral. Each ship appears to exist in dozens of positions simultaneously. That's impossible. Zixther roared. Big objects can't exist in 2 places at once. Only tiny particles can do that. Our sensors disagree, sir. Look at the screen. The main display showed the 5 human ships. But something was wrong. Their edges looked fuzzy. They seemed to shimmer and shift. Then slowly each ship began to split. 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8. It's an illusion, Zixther insisted. It has to be. But the sensor readings said otherwise. Each copy of the human ship showed up as real. They had mass. They had energy signatures. They were there and not there, all at the same time. On the Defiance, Captain Mitchell stood up. His face showed no emotion, but his eyes blazed with determination. Time's up, he announced. All ships begin quantum swarm protocol. Rodriguez's hands flew over her controls. Quantum swarm protocol confirmed. All ships report ready. Dr. Chang looked up from her station. Captain, quantum field generators are at full power. We can maintain multiple positions for approximately 30 minutes at current energy levels. That should be more than enough time, Mitchell replied. He turned to the main screen. The Craxon fleet filled the view. 2,000 ships, each one massive and deadly. Luke, are you ready down there? Ready and waiting, Captain. Just give the word. Mitchell took a deep breath. All ships execute. Show them why humans don't need big fleets when we can be everywhere at once. The 5 human ships vanished. The Craxon flagship, every alarm screamed at once. Velnox watched his screens in horror as thousands of contact signals appeared where 5 ships had been. Admiral, the human ships. They're everywhere. Zixther stared at the tactical display. Red dots filled the screen, not 5, not 50, thousands. Each one red as a full human ship. Each one was real according to the sensors. How? He whispered. How is this possible? Quantum mechanics on a macro scale, Velnox replied, his voice shaking. They've found a way to make large objects exist in multiple states at once. Each ship is in quantum superposition. They're in all possible positions simultaneously. Fire at them, Zixther ordered. Destroy them all. Which ones, sir? They're all reading as real targets. All of them. Fire at everything. The Craxon fleet opened fire. Thousands of energy beams and missiles filled space, but hitting the human ships proved impossible. Weapons passed through what looked like solid ships. Targets vanished the moment they were locked onto. The quantum ships danced between dimensions everywhere and nowhere. On the Defiance, Mitchell watched the chaos with satisfaction. Dr. Chang, prepare the cascade resonators. It's time to show them what quantum weapons can do. Yes, Captain. Cascade resonators charging. We'll be ready to fire in 60 seconds. The quantum ghost ships swarmed around the confused Kraxan fleet. 2,000 warships fired wildly at targets that existed and didn't exist. The 5 human vessels had become an army of shadows, and the shadows were winning. The space around the Kraxan fleet turned into chaos. Where 5 human ships had been, thousands now appeared. They flickered in and out of existence like ghosts. Each one looked real to the alien sensors. Each one seemed solid and dangerous. All ships report ready, Captain, Rodriguez shouted over the noise of alarms. Quantum entanglement holding steady. Mitchell stood at the center of the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. Execute the attack. Show them what a quantum swarm can do. The defiance disappeared. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Then it appeared in 10 places at once. Then 100. Then 1,000. On the Kraxan flagship, Admiral Zixther watched his tactical screen fill with red enemy markers. His 8 eyes blinked rapidly. His 4 hands shook. Fire! He screamed. Fire at everything! Destroy them all! The massive Kraxan fleet opened fire. 2,000 ships launched their weapons. Plasma beams cut through space. Antimatter torpedoes raced toward targets. Missiles filled the darkness like deadly stars, but hitting the human ships was like trying to catch smoke. Weapons passed through solid-looking ships as if they were illusions. When a targeting computer locked onto one ship, it vanished and appeared somewhere else. We can't hit them, a gunner cried out. They're not really there. But our sensors say they are, another officer argued. Velnok suddenly understood. His tentacles went rigid with the realization. Admiral, it's the observer effect, from quantum physics. What are you talking about? Zixther demanded. When we try to observe their exact position, we change it. The act of targeting them makes them shift location. They're using quantum mechanics as a defense. On the human ships, the crew worked with calm efficiency. Each vessel existed in hundreds of places at once, but the crew experienced it as one continuous reality. Dr. Chang, activate the cascade resonators, Mitchell ordered. Target their shield frequencies. Dr. Chang's fingers danced over her controls. Cascade resonators online, Captain. I found their shield harmonics. They use quantum entanglement for power distribution. If we disrupt that, do it. Invisible beams shot out from every quantum position of the human ships. To the Kraxans, it looked like thousands of attacks from all directions. But in reality, only 5 beams existed. They just existed in multiple places at once. The first Kraxan dreadnought's shields flickered. The massive energy barriers that could withstand nuclear blasts suddenly wavered like candle flames. Impossible! The dreadnought's captain screamed. Our shields are rated for... The shields collapsed. Not from overwhelming force, but from perfect harmonic disruption. The graviton beams had found the exact frequency to cancel out the shield generators. Hull breach on the decimator, someone reported. The Annihilator's shields are failing. We can't target them. They're not really there. Commander Harrison's voice came through Mitchell's communicator. Captain, I'm seeing cascade failures throughout. Their fleet. Their shield network is collapsing. The quantum disruption is spreading from ship to ship. Excellent. Maintain the pressure. Don't give them time to adapt. The human destroyers Independence and Liberty Quantum jumped directly into the center of the Kraxan formation. Or rather, they existed in the center while also existing outside it. They were there and not there at the same time. Kraxan ships fired wildly. They hit their own vessels as often as empty space. Friendly fire added to the chaos. Ships collided as they tried to track targets that existed in multiple dimensions. Admiral, we're shooting our own ships, an officer screamed. Our targeting computers can't tell what's real, added another. They're using our numbers against us, Velnox realized with horror. The more ships we have, the more confusion they create. Rodriguez coordinated the attack with perfect precision. Courage and resilience. Execute flanking pattern Delta. Captain, I'm reading massive system failures throughout their fleet. How bad? Mitchell asked. Their targeting computers are starting to crash. The quantum interference is overloading their systems. They can't process targets that exist in superposition. Maintain the swarm pattern. Dr. Chang, can you isolate their command ship? Chang bent over her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. Yes, Captain. I've found their flagship's quantum signature. If we collapse our wave function directly, on top of them, do it. The Defiant seemed to explode into 1,000 pieces. Each fragment raced toward the Kraxon flagship from a different angle. Admiral Zixther watched his view screen fill with approaching human ships. All of them looked real. All of them looked deadly. Brace for impact, he screamed. But there was no impact. Instead, the Defiants materialized directly alongside the Kraxon flagship, so close that their shield bubbles merged and interfered with each other. So close that the aliens could see the human crew through the windows. Point-blank quantum torpedo. Spread, Mitchell ordered calmly. Fire. These weren't normal torpedoes. They didn't explode with fire and force. Instead, they created localized quantum fields that destabilized matter at the subatomic level. The Kraxon flagship's hull began to dissolve. Not melt, not break apart. Dissolve. The metal turned into quantum foam, then probability waves, then nothing. Abandon ship, Zixther screamed. But it was too late. The quantum field spread through the ship's structure like a virus, turning solid matter into mathematical possibilities. Across the Kraxon fleet, similar scenes played out. Ships dissolved into quantum uncertainty. Computers crashed as quantum viruses infected their circuits. Viruses that existed in all possible states at once. Shield generators burned out trying to block attacks that came from everywhere and nowhere. Admiral Zixther, Mitchell's voice came over the failing communication system. This is your last chance. Surrender now, or watch your entire fleet cease to exist in any meaningful way. Zixther looked around his dissolving bridge. Half his crew had phased out of reality. His tactical displays showed static and impossible geometries. His mighty fleet of 2,000 ships was being torn apart by 5 vessels that shouldn't exist. We surrender, he gasped, his voice distorted by quantum interference. Please, make it stop. We surrender. Mitchell nodded to Dr. Chang. Stand down quantum weapons. Stabilize their quantum states. The chaos stopped as suddenly as it began. The 5 human ships collapsed back into single positions. They formed a protective circle around what remained of the Kraxon fleet. Half the alien armada was gone. Not destroyed in the traditional sense, but scattered across probability space. Ships flickered in and out of existence, their crews trapped between quantum states. Of the 2,000 ships that had threatened humanity, fewer than 1,000 remained intact. Surrender signal received from all surviving Kraxon vessels, Rodriguez reported. Her voice held no triumph, only professional satisfaction. Stand, down from battle stations, Mitchell ordered. Maintain quantum lock on their fleet. No one moves until we stabilize their displaced ships. The great Kraxon armada, the terror of a dozen star systems, now huddled in space like frightened children. Their weapons were silent. Their shields were down. They had been defeated by 5 ships that had turned the very nature of reality into a weapon. And the most terrifying part? The humans made it look easy. The quantum storm ended as suddenly as it had begun. 5 human ships now floated in normal space, no longer split into thousands of ghost images. They formed a perfect defensive circle around the broken Kraxon fleet. The aftermath was terrible to see. Where 2,000 proud warships had threatened humanity, now fewer than 1,000 remained whole. Many ships flickered like broken light bulbs, phasing in and out of reality. Others drifted in pieces, their crews trapped in quantum, bubbles between dimensions. All Kraxon ships have powered down weapons, Rodriguez reported. Her voice was calm and professional. Surrender signals confirmed from every surviving vessel. Mitchell nodded slowly. Stand down from battle stations. Maintain quantum lock on their positions. Luke, what's our status? Harrison's voice came from engineering. All systems green, Captain. 0-point reactors are still at 40% power. We could do this dance again if needed. Let's hope that's not necessary. Dr. Chang, can you stabilize their quantum-displaced ships? The doctor bent over her console, studying the readings. Yes, Captain. But it will take time. Some of their crews are stuck between quantum states. We need to be careful or we could lose them permanently. Do what you can. Open a channel to their flagship. The main screen flickered to life. Admiral Zixther appeared, but he was barely recognizable. Half his bridge was missing, fading in, and out of phase with reality. His once proud uniform hung in tatters. His forearms dangled uselessly at his sides. His 8 eyes stared at Mitchell with a mixture of fear and awe. "How?" Zixther whispered. His voice crackled with quantum static. "How did 5 tiny ships do this?" Mitchell stood from his command chair and walked closer to the screen. "Admiral, you made 2 critical mistakes. First, you assumed bigger means better. Second, you didn't understand what humans do when backed into a corner." "But the technology..." Zixther's mandibles clicked weakly. "It's impossible. No species has ever weaponized quantum mechanics at this scale." Dr. Chung stepped forward. Her small frame radiated quiet confidence. "Admiral, while your species built bigger and bigger ships, humans took a different path. We studied the fundamental nature of reality itself. Quantum mechanics, zero-point energy, space-time manipulation. These aren't just theories to us. They're tools. You thought our fleet was tiny," Mitchell continued. "But each of our ships can exist in thousands of places at once. Your massive dreadnoughts, they can only be in one place at a time. 5 ships become 5,000. Simple mathematics. Sub-Commander." Velnox spoke up from his damaged station. His tentacles moved weakly. "The energy requirements alone should have been astronomical. No ship that size could generate such power." Commander Harrison's laugh came over the comm. "That's the beauty of zero-point energy, friend. We don't generate power. We borrow it from the quantum vacuum itself. The universe has infinite energy if you know how to tap it. Your reactors burn fuel. Ours tap into the fabric of space-time. And your shields," Rodriguez added, "rely on brute force, layer after layer of energy barriers. Our cascade resonators don't try to overpower shields. We find their quantum frequency and convince them they don't exist. Much more efficient." Zixther slumped in his ruined command throne. His massive body seemed to shrink. "We spent centuries building the largest fleet in the galaxy. Thousands of ships, trillions of credits, the pride of the Kraxan Empire, and you defeated us with 5 vessels." "Not defeated," Mitchell corrected gently. "Educated. This was a lesson, Admiral. Humanity doesn't want war. We want peace. But we've learned that peace must be protected by those willing to think beyond conventional warfare." "What happens now?" Zixther asked. His voice was small, defeated. "Now? You order your remaining ships back to Kraxan space. You tell your government that human borders are not to be crossed. And you spread the word. The age of massive fleets is over. The age of quantum warfare has begun. And if we refuse?" The question had no force behind it. Zixther already knew the answer. Mitchell's expression hardened. His eyes turned cold. "Then we demonstrate what our fleet can do when we're not holding back. What you experienced today. That was us being gentle. We used non-lethal quantum destabilization. We could have scattered your atoms across the galaxy." The bridge fell silent. On the tactical display, the 5 human ships pulsed with barely contained energy. They looked small, insignificant. But now everyone knew the truth. Those tiny ships held the power to rewrite reality itself. "We'll need assistance," Zixther finally said. "Many of our ships are stuck between quantum states. Our crews are trapped. They'll die if left like that." Dr. Chang nodded. "We'll help stabilize them. Consider it a gesture of goodwill. But Admiral, this is a one-time offer. Cross into human space again and there won't be enough of your fleet left to surrender." "I understand," Zixther said quietly. "May I ask one question?" "Go ahead." "Why? Didn't you conquer the galaxy? With this technology you could rule everything." Mitchell smiled sadly. "Because conquest is easy, Admiral. Building something that lasts? That's hard. Humans learned long ago that empires built on force always fall. We prefer friends to subjects, trade partners to slaves. Today wasn't about conquest. It was about teaching the galaxy a lesson." "What lesson?" "That size doesn't matter. That innovation beats tradition. That understanding the universe is more powerful than trying to dominate it. And most importantly, that humans may be new to the galactic stage, but we're not to be underestimated. Zixthar was quiet for a long moment. Then, he straightened in his damaged throne. Captain Mitchell, on behalf of the Kraxan Empire, I formally surrender. We accept your terms. We will leave human space and never return. Thank you, Admiral. Dr. Chang will coordinate the rescue operations for your displaced crews. Our ships will escort you to the border. As the communication ended, Rodriguez turned to her captain. Sir, do you think they've really learned their lesson? Mitchell returned to his command chair. He looked tired but satisfied. Maybe, maybe not. But word will spread. Every species in the galaxy will hear how 5 human ships defeated the mighty Kraxan Armada. They'll think twice before threatening us. And if they don't? Mitchell's smile was grim. Then we'll teach the lesson again. As many times as it takes. The galaxy needs to understand. Humans may be newcomers, but we're here to stay, and we play by different rules. Outside the viewports, the broken Kraxan fleet began to move. Slowly, painfully, they turned toward home. 5 small human ships shepherded them like guards escorting prisoners. The battle was over. The lesson had been taught. And across the galaxy, the word would spread, don't mock humanity's tiny fleet. Because when humans fight, they don't just bring weapons, they bring the fundamental forces of the universe itself. And that, as the Kraxans had learned, meant doom for anyone foolish enough to threaten them. 3 days had passed since the battle. The Kepler 442 system was quiet now. Stars twinkled peacefully in the darkness. The massive Kraxan fleet, or what was left of it, limped slowly toward their home space. The 5 human ships escorted them, like shepherds guiding wounded sheep. Most of the quantum-displaced vessels had been restored. Dr. Chang and her team had worked without rest, pulling ships and crews back from probability space. Some Kraxan crew members still jumped at shadows. They no longer trusted their eyes. Reality itself had become uncertain for them. Captain Mitchell stood in the Defiance's observation lounge. The room had a wall of transparent aluminum that showed the stars outside. He held a cup of coffee, steam rising in the artificial gravity. His reflection in the window looked older than it had 3 days ago. Lieutenant Rodriguez entered quietly. She carried her own cup of coffee and joined him at the window. For a moment, they stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Penny, for your thoughts, Captain? She finally asked. Mitchell smiled slightly. Just wondering if we did the right thing, Emma. We didn't just defeat them. We broke their entire understanding of warfare. Everything they believed about military power, gone in one battle. They forced our hand, Jack. If we had shown any weakness... I know. Mitchell sighed. But I keep thinking about something my grandfather told me. He fought in the last Earth War before the planet unified. He said the most dangerous enemy isn't the one with the biggest gun. It's the one with nothing left to lose and the will to use whatever they have. And that's what we became? In a way, yes, they pushed us into a corner with their massive fleet, so we responded with creativity instead of size, with understanding instead of brute force. The door hissed open. Dr. Chang entered, looking tired but satisfied. Captain, we have a visitor request. Admiral Zixthar wants to come aboard. He says he needs to speak with you personally. Mitchell raised an eyebrow. Interesting. Is it safe? Luke already scanned him down to the quantum level. No weapons, no tricks. He's clean. Very well. Have security escort him to the conference room. 20 minutes later, Admiral Zixthar sat across from Mitchell in the Defiance's conference room. Without his battle armor, the alien looked smaller, more fragile. His chitin shell had lost its shine. His forearms rested quietly on the table. Captain Mitchell, Zixthar began formally. I have come to ask a question that has haunted me these past days. Please go ahead. Your species had this quantum technology all along. You could have conquered the galaxy with ease. Why didn't you? Mitchell leaned back in his chair. He studied the alien admiral for a moment before answering. Because conquest is easy, Admiral. Any fool with a big enough gun can conquer. But building something that lasts, creating peace that endures, that's hard. I don't understand. Dr. Chang, who had joined them, spoke up. Admiral, humans learned through painful experience that empires built on force always fall. The conquered always rise up. The oppressed always fight back. Violence creates more violence. It's an endless cycle. So instead, Mitchell continued, we chose a different path. We focused on understanding rather than dominating. We studied the universe's secrets instead of building bigger weapons. We made friends instead of subjects. But the power you demonstrated... Zixther shook his head in confusion. Power without wisdom leads to destruction, Rodriguez added from her seat by the wall. We've seen too many species destroy themselves, reaching for ultimate power. Humans decided to be different. Zixther's 8 eyes focused on each human in turn. Our intelligence report said humans were weak, divided. Your homeworld is one of the smallest in the Galactic Council. You have no empire, no conquered systems. Appearances can be deceiving, Mitchell said. Earth may be small, but that forced us to be efficient. Limited resources meant we had to innovate. We couldn't afford to waste anything on massive fleets, so we learned to do more with less. And now you've changed everything, Zixther said quietly. His voice held a note of sadness. Every military in the galaxy will need to reconsider their doctrine. Massive fleets, dreadnoughts, traditional warfare, all obsolete overnight. Not obsolete, Mitchell corrected gently, just no longer the only option. The galaxy is entering a new age, Admiral, one where creativity matters more than size, where understanding the universe matters more than trying to dominate it. What will you do now? Zixther asked. The same thing we've always done, patrol our borders, continue our research, trade with those who come in peace. Mitchell's eyes grew hard, and remain ready for those who don't. Zixther stood to leave. He paused at the door. Captain, I must ask one last question. How many ships like these does humanity actually have? Mitchell smiled. Admiral, if you're asking whether we have more than 5 ships, the answer is yes. If you're asking for exact numbers, and well, that would spoil the mystery. But consider this, if 5 ships can do what you witnessed, do numbers really matter anymore? The alien admiral left, his footsteps echoing in the corridor. As the door closed, Commander Harrison's voice came over the comm system. Jack, we've got company. Sensors show a hostile fleet moving into the Vega system. The Zarathi Empire is threatening one of our colonies. Rodriguez sighed. Again? Don't they ever learn? Mitchell finished his coffee and stood up. Apparently not. All hands, prepare for quantum jump. Let's go introduce the Zarathi to the new reality. Should I warm up the cascade resonators? Changi asked. Not yet. We'll give them the same chance we gave the Craxons. Peace first, quantum mechanics second. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, the 5 human ships were ready to jump. Mitchell took his captain's chair and looked at the stars one more time. As the Defiance prepared for another impossible battle, Mitchell thought about humanity's new role in the galaxy. They hadn't become conquerors or overlords. Instead, they had become teachers, guardians. The universe's reminder that sometimes the mightiest weapon isn't the biggest gun, it's the mind that finds a better way. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched into lines as reality bent around. The ships. The tiny human fleet jumped through quantum space, ready to defend another world, ready to teach another lesson. Across the galaxy, the word spread like wildfire through communication networks and trade routes. In bars and command centers, in academies and shipyards, beings of all species whispered the same warning. Don't mock humanity's tiny fleet. Don't threaten their worlds. Because humans don't fight with size. They fight with the fundamental forces of reality itself. The age of brute force was ending. The age of human ingenuity had begun. And somewhere in the void between stars, 5 small ships flew on, carrying the future of warfare in their quantum cores. They were tiny by galactic standards. They were also the most dangerous force in known. Space. The galaxy would never be the same. Those who mocked humanity's tiny fleet learned, too late, that the smallest key can unlock the greatest power. And humans, they held the key to reality itself. The universe had new guardians now. They didn't need massive fleets or planet-killing weapons. They just needed 5 ships and the knowledge of how to use them. 5 ships. Infinite possibilities, and the wisdom to know when to use them. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. That was their promise. And that was their warning. The tiny fleet flew on, ready for whatever came next. The end.